Welcome to the Wholesome Healing Collective.
Join us on our podcast for a journey into the hearts of healers from all walks of life, diving deep as we explore meaningful conversations that have the power to inspire, empower, and share life-changing wisdom.
Through this community, we hope to create a welcoming environment where our listeners leave feeling nurtured and uplifted. We are so delighted you are here. My name is Alyssa.
And I'm Renee. Grab a drink, get cozy, and let's dive in. Hi, welcome. We are here in this episode to share with you some of our reflections on this last year, on 2022. And we really wanted to look at the wisdom that we've extracted, the teachings that we've had, what worked, what didn't work, and just share it and see what resonates, see if it might be helpful for you all. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, because we always do our podcasts with a drink in hand. What are you drinking today, Alyssa?
I've got Anima Mundi's Dirty Rose Chai.
Ooh.
It's like a collagen booster, like a vegan collagen booster. So I love that.
Yum, Dirty Rose Chai.
I'm not vegan, but I'm dairy free. So vegan usually means safe for me. Yeah. What are you drinking?
I'm actually drinking coffee today, which usually I would have tea in hand, but I'm drinking some coffee. Also dairy free, got my oat milk and then my local honey, which is so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
So thinking about 2022 and reflecting on a big year for us, I feel like really big year. And for me, and I know for you too, we kind of set a theme for the year. You know, it's not about like resolutions, it's about the intention that we're setting forth, and then what that energy will bring us as we call it in. So I think that would be a great starting point, just sharing what our themes were for the year and how that kind of played out as the universe would have it. So do you want to share what your theme was?
Yes, my theme for 2022 was to uncover my truest, most authentic self. And then as I started to find that version, it was finding safety in being her out into the world, which kind of leads into the 2023, which we'll leave it there. So starting the year not really knowing how to find my truest, most authentic self, I started therapy with a somatic lens. So that was really helpful in like diving into my inner workings in a new way. I had never done therapy before. So that was really new for me. And I appreciated that she honored my like theme for the year and accessing that truest, most authentic self. And she supported me there in the beginnings before we started our programs together when I didn't have any support. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And what was your theme?
My theme was empowerment. And well, actually, I take that back. It was empowerment in 2021, which led to embodiment in 2022. And it's been really beautiful how those things kind of attached to each other and led to one another, because I think in 2021, it was like empowerment to take my own life into my hands and create my own reality. And then in order to do that, I needed to get out of my head and into my body. So that kind of led me to embodiment and calling that in. And I didn't know what that meant. Like that, it was kind of that word that got thrown around, embodiment. But what does that actually mean? And for me, it felt like I had taken in all this information and I've been, on a quest for healing for many years. And I'm reading all these books and trying all these things. And then it kind of got to the point where I was like, I have all this information, but it's not integrated into my being. And that's where I was like, okay, I need to embody all of this that's in my brain into my body and actually implement and utilize and bring that into being. So I set that intention, and the universe brought me the pause, breathwork, and somatic coaching program, which is how we met and became close. And it's just been an incredible year since then.
Mm.
Kind of
And
blows
I
me
love,
away, actually.
right? I say this all the time that I feel like I had quantum leaps in my healing because several things I did, which we'll get into too, but the programs definitely is so crazy. So the embodiment, I bet gave you a whole new lens to the empowerment theme that you had, because without the embodiment, you probably didn't really know what it was like to be empowered.
Yeah, that's a great point, because empowerment doesn't come from the mind. And in our mind is where fear and doubt and limiting beliefs and all those things live that actually get in your way. They protect you at sometimes. Um, and of course, we need our analytical mind for many reasons. But when it comes to doing scary things, getting outside your comfort zone, being seen and heard, stepping into your power, like none of those things happen in the mind, at least not for me. So I really had to get out of my mind to be able to step into those scary things and stepping out of the comfort zone and finding my voice. And like you had mentioned, that feeling safety, being seen and heard. I never realized how much of a challenge that was until I was starting to put myself in those positions of being seen and heard on a more like true, authentic level, and not the work level of like, I'm going to give this presentation at work and here's all the knowledge I have or whatever. But actually letting my essence be seen was so out of my comfort zone. So that's, yeah, quantum leaps in those areas for sure. I definitely feel that.
It's vulnerable to share somebody your truest, most authentic self.
Yeah.
And then you're like worried, are they going to like this version of me? Because the former version was, I had all these walls up and these masks that I wore so that I was liked. And I tried to fit in because that's, like that's just what society makes you do, is fit in.
Yeah.
But I want to be weird. I want to be magical
and playful. And
yes.
We have, at least in my previous perception of society, it was like adults don't play. And if they do, it's like drinking or letting loose, in this weird context of like adults only have fun when they throw all their responsibility out the window and drink a substance to make them forget about their life for a couple days. Like, that's not the kind of fun I want to have. Like, I want to have fun in the day-to-day life stuff and in things that bring me joy, even if there's zero efficiency or productivity happening or any of that stuff. So that's been a shift, for sure.
Let's chat about when we started the pause breathwork somatic coaching and how that really shifted our realities.
Yeah.
So the first 8 weeks of that program was healing ourselves. And so what did that feel like for you?
So the first thing that comes to mind is the feeler exercise and how simple that is. And for our viewers out there that have maybe never heard of that and it's like, what the heck is a feeler? It's a very simple but powerful exercise where you take turns with another individual and you're holding space for them. And by holding space, you're essentially sitting in silence as you're holding a container of love for that person and just letting them be them. And it might be them sitting in silence and feeling what's arising in the moment without any words, or it might be them expressing everything that's going on in their mind or in their body. And you're not, as the holder of space, you're not giving advice, you're not giving opinion or anything. You're just letting that person feel and be seen and be heard for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you switch. And it's so beautiful and it's so underrated, I think,
Yeah.
how powerful it can be to just check in with yourself and allow yourself to go inside and be the viewer of all that's going on and be witnessed in that while you're receiving that loving energy. I just, at first, when we started that exercise, I was like, this is so weird. Like, what are we doing? And it's awkward. And you're like, 5 minutes feels like a long time. And then now, we're almost at a year of doing feelers every single week. And it's almost like you crave it. I don't know about you, but like, I always look forward to that. And then, sometimes the week just goes by and you don't realize you're in your head the whole time. And then you drop into the body and it's just like, okay, I'm home. Hi, I see you, so powerful.
Yes. I think I had mentioned on Friday, we've been in this work for almost a year, but we still forget that we have the ability to drop into a feeler even by ourselves and check in with the body. Like there's so many layers to this journey and of remembering what we have access to and when to use it. And it's just so beautiful. I love the feeler how like you are witnessed by somebody, and for somebody trying to be like who's never been seen before or heard before to be held in that kind of container is just so powerful, so healing. Yeah.
What's the big thing that sticks out in your memory from those first like 8 weeks?
I think learning about the energetics and the
Pillars of
pillars.
connection.
Yeah. Like, what am I talking about? So we don't always have to walk around in our mental pillar and be in our structured mind all day. And that was mind blowing / opening for me because that was me. I was analytical Alyssa is what I was called because I was just always living in my mind. And as somebody who suffers or suffered from anxiety, being in the mind is not helpful. So knowing that I can drop into my body and actually move throughout my day from my heart center was very freeing to me. And I'll admit, I still forget that I can do that, which I think has been a struggle recently as I've been living with ADHD and like, let's get out of the mind and back into the body. And like, we don't have to bump and bounce all around, which I think is what happens when I'm in my mind.
Yeah. I feel like those two things, the energetic states and pillars of connection, were such a freaking game changer. Because I was the same way. And we get so rewarded in our society for living in our mental structure, for being detached from our emotions, for being efficient and analytical, and being able to live in that very masculine energy of the corporate world. And when you're ambitious, you are often sucked into that corporate masculine mentality of the go, go, go. And you further separate yourself from your heart center. So, I had never been exposed to that concept prior to these programs, that you can drop out of the mental pillar and view the world from a different place. And it's just, it is game changer for sure. And easy to forget, but then it feels like the more that we've practiced, the easier it is to drop back in and remember too. And the faster the mind quiets and the faster the heart kind of like wraps the energetic arms around and is like, okay, you're back. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for reconnecting. And then when the mind and the heart are connected, it's like that's when the manifestation magic happens.
Yes, that coherence. And
Yeah.
that you'll hear that a lot if you listen to quantum physics, like they talk about the
Heart brain
coherence. My
coherence.
brain just like shut off. But Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about that. And using breath work to kind of regulate that has been really helpful for that.
Mm.
So leading into breath work, as that 8 weeks ended of that healing journey in the coaching container, we started pause breath work, which was a new container at the same time. We kind of went through the same 8-week healing cocoon again. So I feel like that was so deepening. Like I definitely started embodying and integrating what I had learned the previous 8 weeks. It was really cool to see and like actually like pick up, oh, this is what's happening. And I think around that same time we were learning about protectors too in the coaching program. And that was really cool.
Yeah. I love how both programs kind of mix in that, what is it called? The inner family systems framework. I'm trying
I
to
think
remember
it's called
the
internal family
internal family
systems.
systems. Yeah. The
Yeah, the
internal
parts
family
work.
systems work. And yeah, beginning to understand those parts and pieces of us that can get stuck energetically in our body and play a role in our behaviors and feelings and actions without us even knowing was also a huge eye opener. And I think I had kind of been exposed to those concepts here and there, but never in a way where I was being shown within myself the
Mm.
reality of those parts of me that I've been ignoring, resisting, avoiding, all those things. And all, protectors are just trying to protect us. And those parts of us that we avoid are usually just trying to get a need met, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
oh, how can I just listen and allow myself to be seen by me
Mm.
for, like, another big realization through this is it always comes back to us, right? If we want to feel
Yes.
comfortable being seen by others, we need to feel comfortable seeing ourselves. And it's like
Yes.
that
I love
happens with
that.
everything. If we want to feel comfortable, that was another thing about breath work that I felt was so valuable. It really helped me begin to hear myself in
Ooh.
instructing others, because I had such an adversity to hearing my own voice before, which is silly. I
Mhm.
don't know where that comes from. But through breath work and through using my voice to share these teachings with other people, now I can hear myself and I can allow other people to hear me. And it's not as uncomfortable anymore because I worked
Mm.
through that. But I needed to be able to be comfortable hearing myself before I could be comfortable with other people hearing me.
Ooh. I
Yeah.
love that.
I might have just
Yeah.
gone on a tangent because I don't remember your original question, but
That's
that's
okay.
what came alive.
We've talked about this before. We found our embodied voice in the breathwork facilitator program because we did 60
Yes.
hours of practicum. And so by, at the beginning, we were very nervous about facilitating. And then by the end, it was like, this is me. This is the new version of me.
Yeah.
And I definitely found my embodied voice, which is not like high up in the back of my throat, which is the anxious version of me. It's in my heart and it's
Mhm.
strong and it's centered. And I feel so much comfortable listening to that voice compared to
Yeah.
the anxious version.
Yeah. And that totally relates back to those pillars of connection, right? Where we're not speaking from the mind. We're actually not only are we viewing from the heart space, we're speaking from the heart space too.
Mhm.
And it's totally, totally different. I remember when that clicked for me, because I used to have a little list of like breathwork cues, a cheat sheet to
Yeah.
help me if I forgot. And I realized at one point, even if I need to read something, I can read it without saying it and then drop into my body and say it from my body. And it's totally different than
Mm.
if I just read it and say it from my mind. And now I don't need to, reference that. I just kind of connect with my central channel and let my intuition come through with those cues. But yeah, it's completely different when we can detach from the mind and trust that space, that void that we might feel at first with that disconnect is just filled with our intuition, and
Mm.
the magic comes from that place. It doesn't come from the mind.
Yes, trusting, surrendering, and truly just embodying what you've learned, because you don't have to be like so structured about it, just waiting for that information to flow through you because you're so connected to what it is that you're doing. In this case, it's breath work and coaching, like just surrendering in that moment and knowing that our intuition is going to guide us.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah. How has your connection with your intuition grown in the last
Mhm.
year?
I've always felt like really intuitive. Um, but this last year has been a huge like leveling up of my intuition and tapping into my inner knowings, my body's wisdom, my heart connection, connecting with my guides like on my own. And then also I've done a couple Akashic record readings, and I know you have too. It's so cool to get that information. And I think having that communication come through from somebody that is directly talking to our guides kind of helps me stay connected in my day to day with them and be
Yeah.
like, this is what they said. This is how I need to stay true to myself and my path. And that's helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
where do you feel like your intuition, like, do you hear it from somewhere?
that. Yeah, I feel like I am still increasing my capacity to listen. But I definitely, like, before, I felt like I really only heard my intuition when it was screaming at me.
Mhm.
And so I've slowly started being able to listen and hear when it's smaller, and that's part of like detaching from the mind, getting rid of the
Mhm.
noise. Okay, what's actually coming from my intuition and not my mind? And for me, it's definitely deep, like a gut. It's in my gut. And
Yes.
I'm a sacral generator, so makes sense.
Yes.
That's coming from my sacral center. And I definitely feel that. And for me, just touching on what you said, like, where do you hear it from? Um, some people might not hear anything. And for some people,
Mhm.
intuition might be just an inclining or a feeling, and it
Yes.
might be um, images, it might be words, it might be smells. Like, it just kind of depends on your natural inclination with your intuitive capacities, because we all have them. I
Mhm.
used to think that I was just feeling. And for me, that definitely is very strong. It's like that visceral yes or no, which we'll do a whole thing on what visceral
Yeah.
yes and no is. But for me, the visceral yes and no is very strong. And I've learned to check in with the body and be able to ask a question. And based on the either expansion or contraction I feel, I know whether it's a yes or no for me.
Mm.
Um, but also, as I began to develop that, images and um, my ability to see is starting to open up, which I think has been a
Mm.
really fun um, growth to observe in me. My mom is very gifted in seeing, and I didn't think that I had gotten that gift. Um, and now I know, like, we all have it. It's just,
Mhm.
what you develop, what you put your energy into. And it's been kind of magical in seeing that develop, and in a weird way, like connecting me with my mom a little bit more and
Mhm.
giving us something to relate on, because I can have that person to be like, Mom, I went on this meditation and this whole image came forth, and I don't, this is what I'm extracting from it, and like have that dialogue is really special. So yeah, from the sacral, mostly feeling, but definitely developing that the visual component, which has been fun.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that.
How about you? Do you see, do you hear, do you feel what's your strongest?
So I definitely like hear it from my left side, and it like
Okay. That's
when,
specific. That's
especially I
nice.
know when I'm facilitating breath work, it's almost like it like comes in through here, and I have to like think about, oh, can I say that? Can I say that without crying or something, like, because a
Mm,
lot of those things are like, ooh, that's emotional.
it's gonna hit home.
And so that's like what I think about when I think about my intuition. It's just like coming from that direction. My human design authority is emotional. And this last year, I've been really playing into what that means, because I used to think that if I was excited about something, that was a yes. Like, I'm lit up by it. Let's do it. But that is not a yes. If I'm excited about something, that means I need to ride the emotional wave. And when
Mm,
I'm no longer excited about it, when I'm feeling neutral about what it was, I need to check in and ask myself again, is that a partnership I want to make? Or is that something
mm.
I want to invest in? And see how I actually feel then. And that's been new.
Yeah, that'd be quite a switch to
Yes.
take that pause for sure.
Yeah. And I never really understood that that's what it meant to wait for clarification. As that wasn't me before. I was just like so excited and moving from one thing to the next. And now I've been trying to wait and feel things out and use the words, I'll get back to you, because I
Yeah.
gotta ride the emotional wave.
Yeah. Yeah, even though I'm not an emotional authority, I have started to learn that about myself as well, where uh I am quick to say yes, especially if there's excitement, and
Mhm.
especially if I'm for some reason feeling, not that it's a bad thing, but I feel honored very easily. So
Yeah.
if someone is honoring me with a request of my presence, I want to be like, yeah, of course. But then
Mhm.
I have to pause and be like, oh, that sounds wonderful. And I will get back to you, just like you said, because I can't say yes to everything. And I do need
Yes.
to take
Yeah.
those pauses and really check in with my energy and my values and make sure it's a good alignment. So yeah, that's powerful. I think that's powerful for everyone probably to take
Yes.
that pause and actually check in with the heart, even if the mind's like, yeah, let's do it.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So we graduated breathwork. I came to visit you in October for our breathwork
So cool.
graduation. That was beautiful. We got to meet in person. We went on a lot of hikes and ate pizza that we shouldn't have been eating because we're both gluten-free, dairy-free, but it was so good.
It was free pizza though, right? So that's good. What's
Mm,
that?
okay. Oh, it had a little dairy on it, but we had kombucha before to prime our tummies.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was so great. And such a powerful transition into, because we had finished all of our practicum, the 60 hours that you had mentioned. It was kind of a beautiful transition of graduating one
Mm.
into the practicum of another. And by the time we were done, 120 hours of practicing later, now we're in like the emergence
Mhm.
of those programs. And yeah, I'm curious what's like been your biggest integration in this now, month and a half since we ended. And I definitely still feel like I'm integrating a lot from the programs and from graduation and taking that newfound embodiment into the world. Yeah.
Mm.
How has that felt,
Yeah.
that integration time?
Yeah. So we graduated the coaching program in December. So we had like back-to-back graduations. Um, and actually between graduating breathwork, I started another program because one was just not enough at a time, that I started an intentional microdosing practitioner training, so
That's
that when I knew and I emerged from the coaching graduation, I would like have this like perfect like coupling of all of these things. I'm interested in holding somebody through. That was really cool experience. And then let me back up to October when I quit my job.
Oh yeah.
And I resigned from being the transaction coordinator and productivity coach for a real estate company, to starting my own business, Emerge from Within, which is exactly what I did this last year. Was I emerged from within.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And so at the beginning, it was kind of slow. Like I felt like I only had breathwork to offer, even though I had been a productivity coach for a really long time. For some reason, I just didn't feel like pushing that. And so I was offering local breathwork classes. Those were pretty slow too. And so I moved away from having a yoga studio space to doing more online stuff and like collaborating with locations all over my city so that I don't have to be like tied to one. I am just everywhere. And that's part of the theme for this year, which we'll talk about. So then after we graduated coaching, I was like, okay, let's like go big and let's make sure I'm offering all of these services now that I am like ready to offer. And so I've been doing more and more stuff online. Again, as the theme for 2023 comes out. So my integration has really just been trying to embody everything I learned last year and make sure that I remember my tools and I remember the learnings and I remember who I am and what my intention was for last year so that I don't just like derail and leave my authentic self that I found. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
What
and
about
really
you?
creating from that embodied energetic space instead of creating from the mind space. And
Yeah. I got to
yeah,
remember that though. Like
so
I was in a networking meeting and they're like, what do you need help with this year? And I was like, patience, because I just want to go, go, go. And I'm like, I need to settle down and take a breath and just be, because that's where the magic happens. And I need to remember that.
yeah.
So it's still hard. There's always, there's something to do. We're not perfect, even though we went through these programs, even though we've been in it for however long, like you've been on this healing journey, there really is no end. It's just like advancing and diving deeper and deeper if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, the forever learners, lifelong learners, for sure. Yeah, that's so powerful though, because we can acknowledge the importance of the mind space when we need it. And we know that the essence of the business and the offerings are all birthed from the heart space and the body. Like the mind is just a tool for the heart to use, right? And it makes me think of that last like farewell breathwork session that we had where the mentors invited us to imagine the energy of our business as a separate, like beautiful energy entity that we can develop a relationship with. And that's really stuck with me, because I tend to think of, even though I know everything is energy and we're all one, I tend to, naturally look at living things, sentient beings as the ones with the energy, or plants. And I forget that these things that we're creating that don't necessarily have physical form, those energies are its own energy. Our business is its own energy entity. And I'm still kind of getting my mind on board with the concept to be able to really visualize it and feel it viscerally, but I can feel it like starting to click into place. And that's definitely something I want to focus on in my meditations going into 2023, is developing that relationship. Like, what would it feel like to be the best friend of my business energy? which is like, there's probably people out there listening that are like, what are these cuckoos talking about? But it's real, y'all. It's real.
I love that. Mm.
Mm.
So how have you been integrating everything since graduating both programs, and where are you at with your business other than the energy cultivation?
Yeah. I feel like um, I'm taking baby steps. I'm still in um, my 9 to 5. So I am a philanthropy specialist. So of all jobs to have, it's a pretty great job. I get to help give away money to nonprofits that are doing amazing things in the communities. So that's great. And I am at a beautiful acceptance that
Mhm.
I'm going to be there for this next year. I have some projects to finish, and in that, I am finding that balance of how do I make this last chapter um, integrated into what I'm building. So rather than trying to keep them completely separate, like, oh, I'm only gonna, build my business in this 5 minutes that I have after work. It's like, no, how can my mind of five be a part of that creation? And how do those people become a part of that story? And how do I embody what I've learned and am implementing in my business over here so that those energies kind of intertwine? So that's a bit of that integration is how do I apply it to more than just my business? And how do I apply it to what I already have while I'm creating what I want?
Mm.
And I love learning about manifestation and the laws of attraction and how we magnetize through resonating at the energy of the things that we desire. So again and again and again and again, I'm reminding myself that energy is everything. Just like you said, it's so easy to get back into the mind and like, oh, I need to create my website and I need to create my entity and all these things. And like, yes, those have to happen, but really energy is everything. So my biggest integration is continuing to break those habits of wanting to create in 3D and instead creating in 5D, creating in the energy, pouring everything I have into protecting and generating my energy, and then trusting that everything in the 3D is going to work itself out
Mm.
as long as I'm staying aligned with my energy. So, energy is what I'm focusing on right now.
I love that. Um, I have a breathwork session coming up soon that I have to drive across town for. So is there anything you would like to say before we hop off?
When you said that, I was like, okay, what else would we want to share from 2022? And what came to mind, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm just going to roll with it because that's what's arising, is the coaching constitutions and our natural
Mm.
inclination to have the different earth or the different elements as part of our personality. So fire, air, water, earth. And that was a really powerful learning for me in this last year as well, is understanding my natural tendency to have very earthy, flowy energy. I can ground easy. I can root easy. My heart is the energy from my heart can flow easy. But
Mm.
fire is very difficult for me and something that I hadn't realized I had suppressed for much of my life. And in order to feel empowered and feel fully embodied in my power, I needed to recognize that I had been suffocating that fire because of, limiting beliefs around what fire and power look like.
Mm.
And realizing and changing my perception of what that could be and how powerful we can stand in our own feminine power and how that fire can be channeled through the heart, not just blasted out into the universe. And so realizing what comes naturally to me and what I can cultivate has brought me so much balance. And I'm still working on it, but just having that ability to recognize, like, oh my gosh, I'm fully in flow right now and I really need to ground, or I am off in the ethers and I need to bring it back, or whatever. Just being able to recognize what energy is really strong and how can I balance it out with the opposing energies to bring harmony in my body and mind has been really powerful.
Yeah, that would be a great episode to do, like a little meditation on playing with those energies.
Yeah.
So I added it to our long list, which is really great that we already have a lot of content ideas. So
Yeah.
you can catch the video on YouTube, Wholesome Healing Collective, where we'll have additional content as well, maybe some meditations, some breath work that we've done on Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have any ideas for content that you would like us to talk about or share with you, please let us know. And we would love to add that to our list and share what we can.
Yes, I love that. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you on the next episode.